The only reason I'm alive is because my floorboards creaked at the wrong time. I lived on the second floor of an old 3-story building. Thin walls, thinner floors. You could hear everything: arguments, TVs, showers, so I stopped listening. The first sign was small. My keys moved. I always dropped them in the same ceramic bowl by the door. That night I came home, heard the clink, went to the bathroom, came back out, and the bowl was empty. The keys were on the floor, a few inches away, like someone had picked them up and dropped them. The door was locked, chain on, deadbolt turned, windows latched, nothing missing. I told myself they bounced. The second time, it was my shoes. I kicked them off by the couch. In the morning, they were lined up neatly by the door, laces tied in perfect bows. I live alone. I don't tie my shoes before bed. I searched the apartment anyway. Closet, under the bed, behind the shower curtain, even inside the kitchen cabinets, because fear doesn't care about logic. Nothing. But something else changed. The ordinary noises suddenly had a pattern. Little thumps at 2 or 3 in the morning. A soft dragging sound. A faint tap 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 I'd blamed on the neighbor below me. Only there was no neighbor below me. That unit had been empty for months. The old guy who lived there was gone. The landlord sealed the door and muttered about renovations. No lights. No visitors. But I still heard noises. Not below. Under. Lying in bed, I started feeling vibrations instead of sounds. A soft answering creak under my mattress when I shifted, like the floor was reacting. Then one night, half asleep, I rolled over and heard breathing. Not my own. Mine was shallow, panicked. This was slow and heavy, like someone resting their mouth against wood. The sound came from the floor beside my bed. I stared at the ceiling and whispered, "Hello?" Because that's what people do when they don't know what else to do. They talk to the dark and hope it stays quiet. The breathing stopped. For a few seconds, the silence felt thick, like whoever was under there was holding their breath too. I forced myself to lean over the side of the bed. Just floorboards, shadow, a kicked-off sock. Nothing else. I slept with the lights on. The next day, I asked the landlord about the empty unit. Just storage, he said, not meeting my eyes. Old pipes. Wiring. Noise travels weird in these old places. Any workers at night? I asked. At night? No. No one's supposed to be in there. He studied me. Why? Just hearing things. Elite. He shrugged, but as I left he muttered, "Old buildings make old sounds." That night I decided to stop guessing and start recording. I set my phone to record and slid it on the floor by my bed, screen down, mic toward the boards. Lights off. I lay there pretending to fall asleep, exaggerating my breathing so if anyone was listening, they'd think I was out. The building settled. Pipes ticked. A car outside chirped and went silent. My heart was the loudest thing in the room. Around 2 a.m., I felt it, the faintest shift beneath my bed, a slow redistribution of weight in the wood. Something moved underneath me. A soft scrape followed, like fingertips running along the underside of a plank. I stayed still and let my phone listen. When I couldn't take it, I faked a sleepy grumble, rolled over noisily, scooped the phone off the floor like it was an accident, then walked to the bathroom. I didn't look at the boards. The light from the screen spilled over the floor. That's when I saw it. One nail in the floorboard next to my bed was rising. Not loose, not popping from old wood. It was lifting, slowly, steadily, like someone beneath was pushing it up with the pad of their thumb. I stared as it climbed a few millimeters, trembling in the socket, then froze, as if whoever was under there realized I was watching. I backed out, shut the bathroom door, and stayed awake on the couch with the TV on low until morning. When I finally checked, the nail was perfectly flush, like nothing had moved. The recording on my phone told a different story. 3 hours of audio, hiss, occasional cars, my fake snores. Then, at 2:13 a.m., a scrape, the same one I heard, and then, breathing. Up close, wet and rough, like a throat unused to talking. I turned the volume up and pressed the phone to my ear. A whisper slid through the speaker, "What did you do today?" My blood went cold. It wasn't just any question. Every night, right before falling asleep, I talk to myself. Quiet little rituals. I always start with, "What did you do today?" On the recording, I heard my own sleepy voice answer from the bed, "Nothing. Just work." Then, from underneath the floor, the same words repeated, just a shade off, "Nothing. Just work." My phrasing, my rhythm, but not my mouth. Someone had been listening to me, practicing me. That was the moment I decided to tear the floor open. I called in sick the next morning. My boss barely got a full sentence out before I hung up. As soon as the hallway outside went quiet, I locked my door, grabbed a screwdriver and hammer, and dragged the bed aside. Up close, the suspicious board was obvious. The nail I'd seen moving was slightly shinier, its edges darkened with what looked like oil or skin. My hands shook, but I pried the nail up and jammed the screwdriver beneath the board. Old wood complained, groaning as I levered it free. Beneath the plank, there wasn't insulation or clean structure. There was a space. A crawl gap, maybe 3 feet high, running between the floors. Air rolled out, cold, stale, touched with sweat and metal. My eyes adjusted. I saw a crumpled blanket wedged between beams. An empty can. A spoon. The outlines of someone's life. Then I saw an eye. It was inches below the opening. Wide, bloodshot, staring straight up at me. The pupil shrank hard as my shadow fell over it. I dropped the board. It slammed down, muffling a sharp sound from below that might have been a gasp. For a long moment, I just stood there, breathing hard, hands shaking around the hammer. Then I did the worst and bravest thing at once. I lifted the board again. This time, I raised it higher, propping it against the bed frame. I saw him clearly. A man lay curled in the narrow space, as thin as a shadow. His skin had the color of someone who hadn't seen the sun properly in years. His clothes were layered, scavenged things. His hair clung in greasy strings to his forehead. He didn't flinch from the light. He just watched me with those two familiar eyes. He smiled first. "Nothing," he croaked, voice raw, trying to shape the syllables. "Just work." Hearing my own line come out of his mouth made my stomach twist. "How long have you been under there?" I whispered. He shifted on his elbows. The movement made the floorboards tremble around the opening. "Long enough," he said. The cadence was closer to mine that time. Behind him, between pipes and wires, I saw more. A stained mattress pressed against the beams. Crushed water bottles. A pile of clothes that didn't match his size. A tiny cracked mirror reflecting my horrified face back at me from the dark. "You've been listening," I said. It came out flat. "At first," he said. "Then I started repeating. Practicing." He tilted his head, mimicking a nervous tic I didn't even know I had. "You talk a lot when you think you're alone." "Why me?" I asked. He frowned like the question annoyed him. "Old man, before you didn't say much," he murmured, chin twitching toward the sealed unit below. Coughed. Then he stopped. "You're better. You tell stories. Numbers. Secrets. My PIN. My passwords. My late-night rambling confessions." He'd been there for all of it. "I'm calling the police," I said, stepping back. He laughed, a horrible scraping sound that didn't belong inside a human throat. "Do you think they'll get here?" he said slowly, shaping each word. "Before I do." His fingers shot up, gripping the far edges of the opening to pull himself closer. I slammed the board down with both hands. It caught his fingers between wood and beam. His scream tore through the crawl space and into my feet. I didn't stay to watch. I grabbed my keys and phone and bolted, floor shuddering as he thrashed beneath. In the hall, I dialed 911, voice breaking as I tried to explain. "There's a man under my floor. He's been living there. He talks like me." The dispatcher kept me on the line until sirens came. I watched my own front door like something was going to crawl out from underneath it. The police got there fast. They broke my door open, went straight to the bedroom, and pried up the board. The space beneath was empty. No man. No mattress. No cans. Just dust, spiderwebs, old pipes. "He was here," I insisted. "He talked to me. He knew things only I say." One of the officers shone his flashlight further in. "Hold on," he said, reaching in. He pulled out a small, battered cassette recorder. "They bagged it," the senior officer said. "Maybe someone's been squatting down there, recording you through the gaps. Heard us coming and ran." I wanted to argue there wasn't enough time, that I'd never taken my eyes off that room, but my brain was already fraying at the edges. The landlord arrived, furious about the damage, until they told him what they found. His face drained. He pulled me aside, voice low. "We had a problem tenant years back," he said. "He used crawl spaces, walls, watched people from inside the building. We thought he was gone." I thought about the old man downstairs and the sealed apartment. I moved out within the week. The landlord didn't argue. If anything, he rushed the paperwork, like the building itself wanted me gone. My new place was across town, top floor of a concrete building. No wooden floors. No crawl space. First night there, I checked every vent and cabinet twice before I lay down. For a while, things were quiet. Then I came home one evening and found my shoes lined up neatly by the door. I had left them in the middle of the living room. The door was locked, windows secured, nothing missing. My phone sat on the counter where I dropped it that morning. Screen dark. I picked it up. There was a new voice memo. Time-stamped 30 minutes before I got home. I pressed play. Static. The low hum of my fridge. A soft tap, like fingers brushing the underside of a surface. Then a voice asked, "What did you do today?" It sounded like me. Almost. Too careful. Too practiced. As if someone was wearing my voice and trying it on in a mirror. There was a pause. Then the same voice answered, softer, almost pleased. Nothing. Just work. Something tapped 3 times near the microphone. "I found you," it whispered. I dropped the phone. It kept playing as it slid across the counter, tinny audio filling the kitchen. Now I sleep with headphones on and noise playing. I don't talk to myself at night. I try not to say anything I wouldn't want repeated back from inside my own walls. But sometimes, when the building settles, I feel that same strange vibration again. Not above me, not below me. Somewhere in between. Listening. If you're hearing this, you probably trust your floor. You think silence means you're safe. I only found out someone was living under my floorboards because, one night, the wood creaked a little too loud. If your home is perfectly quiet, maybe it's not because you're alone. Maybe it's because whoever's learning your voice has already mastered how to move without making a sound.